Well, good morning, Mr. Paul. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Mitchell. How are you?
I'm doing well. You look stunning as always.
And you've been having some fun this week with your videos.
I sure
Amazing.
have. I sure have. A lot of mistakes, but a learn in progress. Definitely a learning in progress. So let's jump right into it. Speaking about that, one of the topics that we'll be discussing today is the way that we use LinkedIn as a social media, as a social media platform. So, what is your thoughts? How have you been using this platform to help you?
Well, let's go back a little bit here. LinkedIn came into existence in 2003, and I became a recruiter in 1994. So there were many years that I didn't have LinkedIn. And LinkedIn today, I believe, has 690 million members. It's massive, right?
That is.
And I think that a lot of people only believe that LinkedIn is just for recruiters. But LinkedIn was designed as being a business networking tool. So it's great for salespeople. It's great for businesses to connect. It's a great educational tool. It's great to get into different groups and so on and so forth. It's great to share opinions on industry matters. And so for us as a company, we've used LinkedIn, and we use LinkedIn Recruiter Pro, which is kind of LinkedIn on steroids, if you will. And we use it as a tool to identify potential candidates. We believe that probably the best candidates are the passive candidates. And so somebody is on LinkedIn, they have their profile on LinkedIn. There is a feature where they can put open to work, and that will show on their profile that they're open to work. We have potentially more interest in in what I would call the passive candidate. So we're able to identify the passive candidate there, and then LinkedIn gives us the vehicle in which to reach out and connect with those candidates, either through a connection request or through a message or through what they call a LinkedIn in-mail. And so it's a primary resource for us, but it's not the only resource for us.
Well, that's great. And I'll tell you, I've been using the platform. I'm completely new to the platform, or at least trying to use it in a positive way, bringing a lot of comedy to it. I think that we need to bring a little bit of more humor into our industry. I mean, we're getting beat up left and right. I get hundreds of messages of people that are just not happy. And just seeing some of these skits that we're doing brings a little bit of joy, and kind of brings a little bit of attention. And I think that this platform is so important that we use it for us to communicate directly with everybody and try to connect or find a way to connect with people. The way this platform has really helped me was, I've never done videos before. I left a job and, I was trying to find something to do, and I didn't want to become, not relevant anymore. So I decided to kind of put myself out there. And while looking, really try to bring some attention to the industry, because I've experienced all this for the last 20 years. So using this platform has been great. Now, obviously, it takes a lot of time in the beginning. I've got a lot of help from my family. We did our last video. She helped me out with the spelling, and I love her to death. She's from Venezuela. So, she helped me. So it was very funny, but we will be coming up with a second one. So, but using this platform to really start to push the message and logistics has been great. And the feedback has been amazing. I love using that word, amazing, super, excellent, just words that bring a lot of attention. But I did. But let me ask you something else. Being that we use this platform to really open up and try to bring some more attention to the logistics industry. Let's start talking now more about what the real purpose that I think sometimes people use LinkedIn for, or at least what I've been using it for, and what a lot of my friends use it for. And let's call it what it is. It's opening up networks and meeting contacts that we typically wouldn't be able to meet. And second of all, finding jobs. It's so hard to find jobs. Now, I know that when I say it's hard to find jobs, I know there's tons of jobs, but there has to be the right job for you. And what I've done in this industry, which was I've always gone in, and try to help people and sell and really build up some stuff. But at the end of the day, it was just for self-gratification for them.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything really. It was like, this guy's great. He could help us build the company. Let him do it. And then when you get to that point where you're making money and you're successful, I've learned that people tend to just discard you because you've got to them where they need to be and they need you. But what I'm doing is I'm learning and I'm turning that around and bringing a positive outlook to it and trying to help people that are trying to get work to just not jump into something just because you need the money or because it hurts you. And I think, and maybe you could correct me on this, maybe that's why we have such a high turnaround rate. What do you think?
I don't know that LinkedIn is necessarily the reason why we have such a high turnover. And I don't think that recruiters are the reason either. So I'm going to take a step backwards here and talk about LinkedIn as a tool to find a job. There's finding a job and there's finding a career. And at Largely Talent, our focus is on helping people find and forward and further their careers. But you also need to remember that you never work for a company, you work for a boss. So you need to be choosing the right boss to work for. You could ostensibly work for a great company with a lousy boss, ergo you have a lousy job. You could work for a pretty ordinary little company with a great boss, ergo you have a great job. One of the things that we found that LinkedIn bred a lot of what we call LinkedIn bottom feeder recruiters. So they're just on there, they're soliciting resumes, they're blasting resumes out on a kind of buckshot approach. We would never take that approach. We take the responsibility of being trusted to help somebody advance their career. We take that very, very, very seriously. And so when we talk to candidates, we don't talk to candidates and say, hey, I'm reaching out because of this specific job. We talk to them and say, I'm reaching out because of this specific opportunity or these specific opportunities. But initially, we'd like to talk to you about what you're looking for. So instead of us saying, this is the opportunity we think for you, we don't know who you are. We've seen your profile, which is in essence kind of an electronic resume, and we think you'd be great for this job. That's not the right way to go about it. We like to talk to candidates. We like to get to know what their career goals are. We like to know what their ambitions are. We like to know what they love about what they do, what they don't love about what they do, what job or job opportunity would give them the most satisfaction. And then we steer them. So, because we know our client companies so well, and we know the company culture, and we know the management, and we know the opportunities for advancement. So we take this entirely different approach than a lot of these other recruiters that really grew up in this, in the internet age and grew up through companies like LinkedIn. And that's why they're able to operate from overseas. They may show that they've got a Chicago office, but they've never visited Chicago. They've got a Chicago phone number and they're operating out of a basement in Bristol, England somewhere. And they're reaching out, grabbing resumes, sending resumes to as many companies as they can, and hoping that something sticks. That's not the way to go about recruiting. So LinkedIn is a tool that it's very powerful when it's used properly, but it's very damaging when it's used and abused the way we see a lot of people abusing it.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that, to kind of go back to your point is about, it's not just for recruiters or finding jobs. I think that a lot of people that use LinkedIn will use it to look for something that's probably better. And, it kind of keeps your options open, right?
Yep.
So, but you made a really good comment that I really want you to kind of just, maybe give me a little bit more about is, leading and being a boss. I've worked for a lot of companies where the leaders really lead from behind. And then there's bosses that really lead from a front. Mm-hmm. And what really made me come and really be really passionate for this topic is because there's a lot of leaders out there that should not be leaders. They should not, I don't know how they got to that position, whether they knew somebody or they have a degree that maybe someone didn't have. I don't know, but I'm sorry. We have a lack of leadership in this industry, and it is what it is. And I could call that out to anyone. We just don't. Now, let me rephrase that. We have a very small percentage that really that really are amazing in this industry. They're very respectful, but the majority of them are complete disasters. And I think that a lot of it's relationship based. And because I just can't imagine how some of these people are leading. One of the companies I was at that I left, the leadership was so lost. They didn't know what they were selling. It was more like a startup, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing this. Oh my God, we're selling this." And then next thing you know, we're a consultancy firm, and all of a sudden, the new direction is going to be PPE selling. Like, it is the worst disaster I've seen, and I just want people to avoid those kind of situations.
Yeah.
Because those startup situations, unless you really know what's going on, it's a pony show. So I would stay away from that unless you really know the product or know the direction. Mm-hmm. But that's me. But coming back to that, let's talk about something that I saw a few posts and a few people that follow you, and there was a very, very big difference in opinion. And that was the topic of attitude versus experience.
Yeah.
Now, that is an excellent topic in this industry because there is so much attitude in this industry, a ton of attitude, and very little experience. Very little experience if you compare both. So what's your view? What do you think? What stance are you going to take on this one?
So let's call it my personal opinion, right? That I believe that attitude trumps experience. In other words, if you give me 5 people with great attitudes, I think I can turn them into great business professionals. If you give me 5 experienced people with lousy attitudes, then I think, we're set for disaster there, because that attitude will always come through. The bad attitude, somebody who is, going back to your leadership thing, somebody who doesn't lead from the front, somebody who, is a fake leader, who, is a rah-rah leader, like a cheerleader. Great leaders are people who grow, groom, coach, train, and mentor their employees. They want their employees to succeed. That's something that candidates should be looking for in an interview. The candidate should be asking the interviewer, "Tell me about your leadership style." And so that's something that's really important. But equally, when you look at experience, how many people in freight forwarding had experience before they worked in freight forwarding? How many people in freight forwarding had experience in freight forwarding before they worked in freight forwarding? There is an exact number there, Mitchell.
Less than 1%.
It's actually way less than 1%. It's 0%. There is nobody in freight forwarding who had experience in freight forwarding before they got into freight forwarding. So, I get a little skeptical about this experience thing. And let's not confuse experience with service. And let me give you an example. So I might talk to somebody who tells me that they've been an air export agent for 10 years. And I ask them, "That's fantastic. What did you learn in the first year?" And they tell me they learned how to do pickups, quotes, bookings, how to fill out house bills, how to fill out master airway bills, how to do a couple other things. And I go, "Okay, now tell me what you learned in years 2 through 10 that you didn't know from the first year." And they tend to go blank on you because they've continued to do what they've done. And so I try to help them out a little bit and say, "Okay, so do you handle letters of credit?" And they go, "No, somebody else. We have a specialist in the department who handles LCs." "Okay. Do you handle site drafts?" "No, somebody else handles the site drafts." "Do you handle any of the consular work or legalized work?" "No, we farm that out to somebody else." "Okay. So DG, are you dangerous goods certified?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm dangerous goods certified." And I ask them, "Is that because you wanted to be dangerous goods certified, or because the company said you had to be and they would pay for you to get that certification over a 1 or 2 day period or however long the class takes?" And so in that instance, I have to be the bad guy to tell that person, "You actually don't have 10 years experience. You have 1 year's experience repeated 9 times because you're not learning something new and you haven't added to your portfolio during that 10 years. You've just done the same thing for 10 years. So that's 10 years service, 1 year's experience."
That's a good way to put it. But I'm going to have to disagree with you, Bill. I mean, I know that you're the godfather of freight forwarding when it comes to recruitment. And by the way, you resemble very much Godfather. So I got to be careful what I say. So
The Odd Father.
The Odd Father. Right. Excellent. So, but see, here's the thing. I'm a big entrepreneur. I like to show companies and help build and really grow their bottom line when it comes to it. And attitude will only get you so far, right?
Sure.
I like that experience part of it, because if I'm going to pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to do a job, I'm paying them to do that and teach me as well, because I'm investing in this person. So the experience has always been something also that for the more seasoned individual, they like that. They like to see that you understand, you could relate to them in a certain way, and that experience can bring you together. And I think that that's also a good way to connect with the person that you're speaking with.
Yep.
Attitude is great. I've also dealt with people with a lot of attitude, and in this industry, we have nothing but attitude. And the one thing that really gets to me is that sometimes the attitude becomes to be more of a smart aleck. And they think they can do everything because they just figured out how to cut an airway bill, or they just figured out how to send over an unrated bill of lading. And now they're pros, and now they could go look for something else and someone that could pay them $5 an hour more, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So I think that's a problem in our industry too. We're cheap. We're cheap. We don't want to pay for people with the experience. So I think the attitude is a cop-out thing for a lot of these things, Bill.
So you've kind of thrown a couple of things at me here. So in terms of attitude, I'm not talking about attitude in terms of cockiness or confidence. I'm talking about people who have a great attitude. A great attitude to me is somebody who's willing to learn, somebody who's willing to listen, somebody who's coachable. That to me is the great attitude. When you talk about people with the experience, and you being somebody that prefers people with experience, how are you distinguishing between experience and years of service? If they're not adding to their portfolio, I don't understand why somebody, that individual who told me that he had 10 years experience in air export, and then I might ask him, so in the 10 years experience, in the 10 years you had in air export, did you ever wander over to the air import department to see what happens on the flip side? And he goes, no. Okay. Did you ever wander over to the ocean export department and see how an ocean shipment is handled versus an air shipment? And they go, no. And I'm like, why? Well, I didn't have the time. So in 10 years, you're telling me that you never had the time to just wander over into another department and ask if you could help them, or look over somebody's shoulder, or see what you would do, see what they were doing, so that you could expand your knowledge. So that's where I get a little bit hung up on the experience factor, right?
Right.
You have to quantify what experience is, and you have to distinguish between experience and years of service.
And I'm with you on parts of that. I agree we definitely agree on certain aspects.
I'm not going to get you to agree so you're not going to agree today, huh?
No, not today. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're not experienced in this industry and you're in forwarding, one mistake can cost you thousands. Let me rephrase this. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because, for example, my air export guy or my ocean export guy decided to sign paperwork to Brazil and not use a blue pen. Not use a blue pen is going to cost me thousands of dollars. So what do these big branch managers do? They buy all blue pens to resolve the issue and not teach. Right. So I think that experience key is huge. And you know what I think we should do for next Thursday is, I think we should actually maybe bring somebody on that, I don't know, maybe has experience, and bring somebody on that doesn't have very much experience. Possibly, and let's try to compare and see who goes. Because if I'm wrong, Bill, if I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. But
that's it? There's no money involved here?
All right. I don't know if we could wager stuff, because there's so much red tape, but I'll make a deal with you.
Okay.
I'll make a deal with you. We will do a poll on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And we will see who is correct. If it's
Okay.
experience that people want, or if it's attitude. Now, if you win, I will buy lunch for your entire office.
That's a plan.
If you win, you have to buy my whole office lunch, and that's me. So it's a fair trade-off. And also, you'll get brownie points. So we're definitely going to be having some points here. But, you know, this is a topic that's really hot and important. And I think that we need to continue this. So
yeah,
I think we should definitely do that. So why don't we touch base again next Thursday? Let's get back onto this and let's really delve in to really see if it's experience that we want or is it attitude. Is that fair?
That's fair. I just did one little caveat that I'm not saying that a company can operate with zero experience. There has to be somebody, but that takes us back to leadership, and that takes us back to teaching, coaching individuals so that, you know, they don't make those mistakes. Teaching them how to be a good air export agent and teaching them how to ensure that they follow all the rules and regulations. But, you know, I'm still going to tell you that, you know, in my world, and the bet is on, and I'd love to hear the response from viewers.
Let's do it. Let's do it. 1 week for everyone to vote. So everyone has to vote. So, I mean, this is going to be great. So let's wait for next week. Let's see what we got going on. Bill, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for coming to the Mitch and Bill Paul Show, discussing current issues and current situations within our industry when it comes to recruitment and hiring. Thank you so much, Bill. And we will see you all here next Thursday. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Bill.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.